innocence lost, sin took the fall. Love gave a gift most precious of all.
Hey everybody, I'm Heather Thomas Van Deren, and I want to welcome you to the testimony show called What Love Means. Today, I am in Corsicana, Texas with my sweet friend Crystalrimi. Hi Crystal, how are you?
I'm good, Heather.
I'm so glad you came today, or I came to you, right?
Me too.
Yeah. Crystal has a story to share today that I know is going to touch your heart. And first of all, Crystal, I would like to have you share a little bit about your salvation testimony, because I know you're a child of God.
Yes, ma'am. My salvation, I've known God. I've known God since I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and I've been in and out of the church. But for me, the rededication of my life and the time that I really finally surrendered my life happened when I was in my mid-30s. And I had been through a really hard, tough time with addiction and some of the choices that I made and where it took me in my life. And I feel like that's the time that God really just brought me to my knees right here in my home, in my living room.
Really?
And that's the moment that I really surrendered my will to God. I was about 35 years old.
So that was your big turnaround.
That is the day that my life changed. And when I say my life changed, it didn't become easier.
Oh man, that couldn't be more true. A lot of people think that, oh, well, if I get saved and become a Christian, that everything's just going to be peachy keen, and that's not true. Jesus never promised us an easy life. He said that there would be trials and tribulations, but He's with us now to get us through that. And I don't know how we did it before Him. Do you?
No.
Woo! Our angels were busy keeping us safe and giving us that opportunity to get where we needed to be.
Yeah, and that was the day I realized that I would not be free from my consequences of my choices that I'd made in my previous life.
Right.
But it was the day that I would have hope in a future. That is the day that I realized that God could take all the things and the choices and the bad mistakes in my life and turn around for His glory and give me a hope and an expected end.
And you've had some tough things that you've had to overcome, and you're going through some tough things right now.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your husband. I know that he's the joy of your life.
My life. So I've known my husband and I have been together 9 years. We've been married 3 years, and my husband and I we were in our addiction together.
Right.
And I actually went to prison 5 years ago. And my husband turned his life over to God while I was incarcerated. And when I got out, my husband and I both surrendered our lives to God and entered into a godly marriage. And we were married for 2 years when my husband had a massive stroke, and now he's a quadriplegic with a trach and a feeding tube. But the joy that I find in that, even with God, because of God,
right.
He has taught me how to find joy in every little thing that we have. And our season now is the healing and the process. It's almost like a childlike thing. You get to see the world again through His eyes.
You're right, absolutely. And you know, you were talking about not being as strong as people think you are, but we're as strong as we need to be.
Yeah.
And God gives us that. And that's something else that blows my mind. I know it blows your mind too, because you don't think you're going to be able to get through these.
When this first happened, I remember crying and wailing and saying, God, why me? Why now? Because I felt like we'd been through so much, through all the bad stuff, and then suddenly, and we finally were at a place in life. I'd graduated from college. My husband was a godly husband, the husband I had
always
prayed for and prayed for. I finally had learned how to be a godly wife, which is, that's not always easy to do. And then suddenly we had this happen. But God has taught me, even in this, to find joy. Even in this, to find joy, because the Bible tells us that the joy of the Lord is our strength.
Right.
And He is my strength.
And He tells us also to count everything as joy.
Yes.
And everything that we do it as unto the Lord.
Yes.
And when you take your mind off of yourself and go outward instead of inward,
Yeah.
it makes it a whole lot to grasp that joy, because that joy is there for us.
We're taught to serve.
Yeah.
We're called to serve.
Yes.
The Bible tells us when we become Christians to serve. And in our service, we can find the joy.
Right.
Because we're not focused on the poor, pitiful me things that we've had to deal with in our life. All the bad things.
Yeah.
And when we focus on service to God, even in my marriage, or even in, I look at my husband's stroke and I see the wonderful, beautiful people that God has placed in my life that are relationships that I would have never formed had this not happened. The nurses, the doctors, my aunt, and our family that is here to help me take care of and supports me, and my church family. Those are all relationships because of, and God has made this thing that should have broken me and made me stronger.
Right.
He gave me the strength that I never even knew that I had in it.
And another thing too is in that strength, you are bringing strength to your husband, because it can't be easy what he's having to endure on a daily basis, but yet because God has given you the strength, you're moving that strength over, transferring over onto him. Have you ever thought about that?
Well, and that is one of the things that we're saying that, and it reminds me of, I know that because of the godly relationship that we entered into, the godly marriage that we walked into, the threefold cord.
Right.
I can know what my husband needs before, and he can't speak.
Yeah.
But I know what he needs because I know him. He is me. We are one.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
And when we are one, and I know that man because he is a godly man. He is, and he loved the Lord with all of his heart. And he used to tell me, he said, "Honey, I love you like Christ loved the church." What? That is the kind of love that we all.
Okay, we're going to cry. That's a blessing. That's what kind of a blessing can that? Wow. That he gave you. He gave you that. You got to actually
live it and walk it
and hear it.
I mean, to have.
Yeah.
I mean, I love you like Christ loves the church. What kind of love is that? And he can only have that love because of the love he had for God.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I live my life every day because of that. And I know that there's a purpose and a plan in this.
There is. And like we talked about earlier, it's a new testimony being built.
Absolutely.
A new season, and it's not going to be forever because he's going to take you through it. The old saying, if God brought you to it, he's going to take you through it.
And I know that the life that I've lived in my life from my childhood and the hard things that we dealt with as a child, the things that I dealt with in my early 20s, and even the addiction and even my incarceration, I look at every little piece and every single person that God put in my life that sowed the seeds to create the woman that I am today.
Yeah.
And the woman that I am today is weak, but through Christ I am strong.
Strong, yeah.
That's
scriptural right there.
That is it. That's everything.
And, I'll have to say this, you're a very beautiful person.
Thank you.
On the inside and out. And you're inspiring because I met this lady at a ladies' retreat in Palmer, Texas. And she shared her testimony, and it touched my heart. And I'm so glad that we're sitting here today. I have a question for you. I don't think I prepared you for this, but get ready. If there was just one thing, really, that you wanted to share with those that are watching or listening right now, if it was like if I told you could only say one thing, Crystal, and it was something that you really wanted them to be able to take away from the interview and just place in their heart and use it to change their lives with, what would that be?
Your past does not dictate your future. And that's it. The things that the devil meant to harm, to tear you down, those are the things that they don't define you. You can become more. You can become greater. If I let the things of my past define me, it would say that I was a junkie, ex-convict, high school dropout. But that doesn't define who I am.
No.
What defines me is I'm a born-again child of God who has a college degree, who has 4 years clean and sober, who met the love of her life, who turned out to be the most godly, loving, kind man all because of what God can do in my life.
Yeah.
That is everything. I want you to know that just because you've been somewhere doesn't mean you can't go somewhere.
I love that.
And that's important to me. You know?
And all those other things are they're just labels
They're
that
labels.
the world puts on us, trying to define us and put us in a box. But, you know, we don't want to be in a box.
And you don't have to carry the labels.
We want to be individual. We want to be exactly who God created us to be. And He has created, everybody has different DNA. You know, you can't put God's people in a box.
No.
And you can try to label them all you want. But the only label that I want is Christian, child of God. That's the label that I want to hold. And another thing too, if you're watching this today or listening and you don't know Him as your Savior, then you can't have that joy and that peace that Crystal and I have. It's very important to know Him, and not just so that you can go to heaven, but because without Him you can't live the abundant life that He has
He's
for
promised
you.
us.
Yeah, it's a gift. He wants to give it
promise.
to you. If you have not accepted Him as your Savior, or even, you know, if you're just not sure, then let's just get it settled today. All you have to do is just follow the ABCs of salvation. And it really is that easy, isn't it?
Yes.
The world makes it so hard. A is just to admit that you're a sinner, because we're all sinners. And we all
Have
fall
fallen
short
short.
of the glory of God, and it's the truth.
We do.
In a big way. You know, you can't save yourself. Let's just put it that way. And then believe that Jesus really is who He says He is, that He came to this earth, He died on that cross, and when He did, He took on the sins of the entire world, and that means your sin, my sin, Crystal's sin, and He put them as far as the east is from the west. And that makes you a believer, because you are believing that He is who He says He is. And then just tell somebody, confess, right? First of all, if you have a secret like that, you don't want to keep it.
Yeah.
You want the whole world to know about it. So confess it with your mouth, and then see what God has for you. Get in the Word, find a Bible-believing church, pray, ask Him to show you, because just like with Crystal and with me,
It's your support system.
yeah, and He shows us what to do every day. And it's something that you can't explain to someone that hasn't walked
He
it.
gives you a foundation and a support system.
Right, right. Well, Crystal, if there was somebody that wanted to get in touch with you to, I don't know, maybe share your testimony with them, or their ladies group or
questions.
something, would you like to share an email or something?
Yeah. My email address is, which is funny, it's my name, my first name, Christle, CHRISTLE, the number 2, Jones, JONES, @gmail.com.
Right. So you can get hold of Crystal, and I'm sure you'll also be happy to pray with people that need
Yes.
praying with, or whatever. And if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, or the Corsicana area,
Big city of Corsicana.
yeah, and you think that you might want to share your salvation testimony, just get in touch with me. You can go to my website at htvministries.com, or you can email me at countrygirlsings@live.com. We thank you for watching, Crystal. Thank you for sharing, and I know that this is going to reach some people that need to hear this. So, yeah, God bless you. We love you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.